The 19th century philosopher Alfred North Whitehead said, the safest general characterization of the European philosophical tradition is that it consists of a series of footnotes to Plato. And indeed, the next philosopher I'm going to discuss, Plato, has had a tremendous impact on the subsequent history of Western thought. In particular, his ideas have influenced Christianity, communism, and to a certain extent, fascism. Plato was born in around 428 BC or so and fought in some wars for Athens around 404 BC, before subsequently witnessing the tragic death of his good friend and mentor Socrates in 399 BC, which we discussed at the end of the previous segment. Now, Socrates died, shock horror, at the hands of a democracy. Democracy isn't always perfect. And this had a great impact on Plato's subsequent thought, especially in regards to politics and ethics. I'm going to deal with his politics and ethics in this section. I'm going to try to deal with his ideas about how you know things, or his epistemology, and his metaphysics in the next section. So moving on to Plato's ethics and political philosophy, he sets forward his probably most complete view in a dialogue known as the Republic, which he wrote shortly after setting up his school or academy in 387 BC. Now, this dialogue consists of a series of interchanges between Socrates and Thrasymachus. A few other characters get involved, but it's mostly these two. And they're discussing the nature of justice and the ideal city. And the city that Socrates puts forward after he's done with kind of shattering Thrasymachus' illusions through the Socratic method is one that's quite totalitarian and different from Athenian democracy. Now, Plato is kind of aiming at sort of two main goals. He's aiming for internal stability and external stability. So, I mean, maybe these were the best things that could be achieved, or he viewed could be achieved in light of the instability that plagued Athens after the 30 tyrants. It's the best you could hope for. So anyway, his city consists of three classes of individuals. There's the workers, the soldiers, the soldiers have the virtue of courage, and the guardians, who have the virtue of knowledge. The guardians, who actually run the place, are to be given a very strict upbringing. Now, the poetry of Homer is to be banned for the guardians, because Homer occasionally shows the gods acting badly in novels such as the Iliad or the Odyssey. The Iliad you might subsequently have seen in the film Troy, which depicts many of the events in the poem. It's also to be banned are plays, because this might result in good individuals portraying the roles of bad individuals, because every play has to have a villain, and this might confuse the guardian class. Even though they're selected for their intelligence, they might not be that intelligent. Also, the Lydian harmony is to be forbidden because it's deemed to be depressing. Gold and silver are deemed to be forbidden because they result in covetousness and strife. The state is to sanction marriages or couplings, and the children are subsequently to be taken away and raised communally, again to avoid strife. And the strong soldier class are there to keep the city free of external threats. So you've got this internal and external stability. This corresponds with Plato's idea of justice. Plato, after having Socrates demolish Thrasymachus' ideas of justice, which may be closer to modern justice, or what I perceive as real justice, puts forward his own view, which basically is that everyone simply should know their own place, and harmony is what is key. Now, Plato's ideas have been tremendously influential. As you can imagine, sort of the being raised communally was influential to the early communists in the 20th century. And also, to some extent, to the fascists, this idea of massive state control. I mean, the Greeks were tremendously influential on Mussolini's thoughts, and Mussolini influenced Hitler. So, this kind of sums up Plato's philosophy. It's political philosophy. It's very anti-democratic and totalitarian in this respect.